Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
7-footers gang, what is going on? It is your girl Jenna and Jarod over there looking handsome as hell. What's going on? We're back for episode 83, and it's a special one because, guys, it is the NBA Finals, okay? We have the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers who are going to go for the best of 7 to see who can win the chip inside the bubble in the said asterisk year. So you never know what's going to happen. We have your ultimate preview right here. And before we get into things, Jarod, you know I always got to check on how you're doing over there in these streets. How are you?
Maintaining, we're doing, it's crazy, right? Like the NBA Finals are here.
What a time.
It's been a season, right? I mean, 2020 has been a year in so many different ways. But the two best teams that have played, really in this bubble are here for the finals, right? And that's really what you could ask for, which teams are playing the best in the postseason. And the Miami Heat and Los Angeles Lakers were the two best teams. So strap it up. This should be exciting. This is going to be an excellent finals. I can't wait.
I'm so excited for this matchup, but before I get into it, we have to talk about the Heat and Celtics. All right, the Heat closed it out in an exciting game, and they went 125 to 113. What does that tell you about the Celtics coming out and ending this?
Look, I think there's a lot of post-mortem about the Celtics, right? Like, oh, what's wrong with them, blah, 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 what have you. Look, they're talented, right? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are I think they're 23. They're young. I mean, Kemba's a little bit older, but, like, he's a great piece to be the sort of point guard leader. They probably need, like, a little bit more size maybe in the middle. But honestly, like, they're an excellent squad. Like, winning a championship is hard. Like, and there's no, just because they were the 3 seed doesn't mean, like, all right, they were supposed to definitely be better and go to the title. And it's hard to win titles, and this will be great for them, for Tatum and Brown. Like, we get so fooled sometimes in the NBA with how, teams come about winning chips. We think it's easy. Oh, look, LeBron and D-Wade got together and Chris Bosh, and they won a chip in year 2. Oh, look, KD went to the Warriors and da-da-da-da. Oh, Kawhi went to the Raptors. Like, yo, all right. Like, but those are outliers. Like, typically teams with young talent that they grow and take their lumps. That's how they get better. By the way, Toronto Raptors took lots of lumps before Kawhi got there, right? Like, you have to build that up. So teams like Boston and Denver, these are those playoff losses that if the team stays together, they learn from and grow, and that's that sweat equity they have to tap into so that when they come back next year, all things being equal, they're like, all right, remember when we were in this situation, and we didn't trust X, Y, and Z? Now we're here and we're ready. So I don't think the Celtics need to do any major changes to what they do. Guys need to get a little bit better, but I mean, we talk about there's levels in this NBA, right? It's just there's levels to this. So Tatum and Brown, another step up they're gonna make. They're gonna get a year wiser, understand the grind a little bit more. Like, it's progression.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this was a deep playoff run for the young age of the Celtics
Eastern
team.
Conference Finals.
So,
I mean,
right. And they're a great makeup. We saw how talented they are, I should say. And, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they combined for, 60-some points.
They're excellent. They're
excellent, but you just couldn't beat the Miami Heat. I mean, they took over the end of the game. They had most of the points in the final, 50 minutes of the game. And let's talk about how we all didn't know that we signed up to travel back in time to see Andre Iguodala's retro, as the kids say, or not say, performance. Clutch 3-pointers. He was great on the offensive end, with great hair, by the way. A lot would argue that. But, I had to drop that in there. But, yeah, I mean, it was great to see Andre out there and not in a Warriors jersey.
Yeah, so this is Andre's sixth straight NBA Finals trip, right? Remember those years with
And
the
no one's
Warriors?
talking about that.
Yeah, those
No
years with the
one
Warriors.
talking about that.
And now he's back with Miami. Look, what the Heat really did, that collective thing that we talk about, right? And that's what they're going to need in this series in the finals against the Los Angeles Lakers. Where the Celtics had trouble against the Heat was Bam Adebayo, right? Bam Adebayo looking like young Kevin Garnett. Shouts to Brian Fonseca, who calls him Bam Garnett. He was incredible all playoffs long, and particularly in that closeout game. I mean, the poise he played with and the relentlessness that he attacks the glass when he's rebounding. I mean, he is an excellent player. And I have to admit, I did not think Bam would make this curve leap this way, right? I thought he could be a very good player. I didn't see it happening this fast. But that's that thing we always talk about on the show, Jenna, about if the talent is there, what you can't measure is the heart and the want to, right? Like, that's the thing that there's no stat that could tell you if that's you have to just see. The proof is in the work, and then when they actually show up and do it. And with Bam, that's what you're seeing, right? Like, all of that work that he's put in, I mean, he's excellent. And he's the kind of guy, I mean, we know about his background, his humble beginnings, right? Living with his mom, a single mom, in a trailer, being overlooked in the draft, being overlooked for Team USA Select, right? Guys like Plumlee were taken ahead of him for the Team USA recently, and so these are all things that guys like Bam just add to the list. Oh, y'all didn't think I was good? Cool. All right, I'll show, right? And that type of slight, that works for some people, right? The motivation to prove people wrong. Like, oh, nobody thought I'd be this good. And that really, in essence, is this entire Miami Heat team, right? They're all full of dudes who are like, oh, y'all thought we was trash? Cool. So they all play with that chip on their shoulder as a collective unit, though. It's not individual. It's their thing is we are all going to do whatever it takes to win the game. And they love it when one of their teammates is the guy, right? When Bam's doing well, they're also happy. When it's Jimmy, Tyler, it doesn't matter. Whoever has got it going, that's who they're rallying behind. And it's in the cheesiest, like, team kumbaya sense of the word. It's a beautiful thing to see a team so connected. And that's what you're seeing. They're so connected.
1,000%, which is why they took this series 4-2. And they're going to the NBA Finals. And before we can get to that, we also just really quickly need to acknowledge the outstanding performance of LeBron James. In the closeout game against the Denver Nuggets. 38 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 assists. And he's only the fourth player to reach 10 NBA Finals, Jarod. 10.
Listen, what LeBron, that's 10 NBA Finals in 17 seasons. That is incredible. So for more than half of his career, he's been in the NBA Finals. That's outstanding. There is no other way to say it, but it is outstanding. People love to be like, okay, yeah, but he's 3-6 in those finals, right? Like, all right, like, but this is going to be number 10. Like, everyone loves to throw the Michael Jordan 6-0 out there, but Jordan only went to 6. Yeah, he won all 6 he went to, right? But the fact that LeBron keeps getting himself there and putting himself in position year after year after year, I mean, that's outstanding. So we have to give him kudos for that. And the same things I said about the Celtics apply to the Nuggets. They're a young team, but who again, this is part of the maturation process, getting your lumps and learning. But look, I think what LeBron did in that closeout game was excellent. I think my statements about him still hold in that he's still an older man, right? Like, now, the fact that we're recording this podcast the night before Game 1, he's had a few days off before Game 1 of the finals, so I expect him to come out and be quite well rested and quite on top of his game, right? Because he's had 72 plus hours to recuperate and make sure he's good to go. The finals is on that every other day format, and so yes, there's no travel, so that's a good thing. But still, every other day you'll see effects of it certain times. But Jenna, this is going to be a hell of a series. And, you know, the question is ultimately going to be, are LeBron and AD enough? Because you'll easily say that the two best players in the series are LeBron and AD, right? But it ain't like the gap is that wide, right? Like, okay, yeah, like LeBron and AD are like historically, and AD is excellent and all that, but Bam, Jimmy, and Tyler aren't terrible, right? And it's like when the series prior for Miami, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba Walker on paper are more talented than Bam, Jimmy, and Tyler Herro. But the gap ain't that wide. And did it matter? Apparently not, because they won, right? And so, yes, Lakers have the best two players in the series, but the Heat have numbers 3, 4, 5, possibly 6, right? The next 4 guys are probably the best guys in the playoffs. And now if you're a Laker fan, what you have to ask yourself are Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, Alex Caruso, and Kyle Kuzma, are those 4 guys enough? Plus what we hope is the sustained excellence of LeBron and AD to go against the collective unit that is the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro, Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, right? Like Jay Crowder, like are they Duncan Robinson, right? How is that going to match up? We know what LeBron's been on this stage before. It's the first time for Jimmy. It's the first time for Tyler. First time to Bam. Guess what? First time for Anthony Davis, too. He ain't been to the NBA Finals before. The only person who's got NBA Finals on the Lakers besides LeBron are Rondo and Dwight Howard. I mean, so, you know.
Danny Green.
And Danny Green, excuse me. Yep, forgot about Danny Green. Right? So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the rosters stack out against each other.
Yes. I have so many thoughts and so many questions. But first, staying on the Lakers-Denver series really quick before we close it out, I have to say, and this, put my LeBron James bias away.
I mean, you can't put it away, but okay.
I'm trying. Doesn't that matter for anything?
No, it does not. Not at all.
But anyway, for real. For the fan who was or is teetering on the brink of believing in LeBron James and not, what LeBron James showed in that closeout game was his ability, as we've mentioned before on the show, to turn it on and off, to really say, okay, I'm going 150% this game. I'm tearing everyone apart. I'm guarding the guy, as he asked to guard Jamal Murray at the end of the game and took care of it on the defensive end. I think Jamal Murray went 0 for 2 at one point. But what he did was prove his ability to really take over and control it and dominate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you know that you can pull any arsenal out of your bag, it really does show that what separates you from the regular great players, but then you're that next level of his level. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Look, the question is, can he repeat that in the finals? And that's what remains to be seen. We'll see, right? I think he will generally be excellent. I do think, though, that the Miami Heat, this is the best team that the Lakers have played in this postseason, at least for certainly on the defensive end, right? Because let's be honest, Portland plays no defense. The Rockets, we know about them. And the Nuggets don't play defense either, right? So, yeah, Rockets and Nuggets are high-powered offensive teams. Cool. But none of them can guard at the ferocity that Miami guards at. And not to mention, Miami will implement that 2-3 zone. The Lakers don't shoot well, right? So, I mean, the strategy for always, and the thing is, look, LeBron has seen every defense. He knows what it all is. That just is what that is. But if you're a defense, more often than not, if he is a jump shooter, your chances of winning that possession increase, right? Because if there is still the weakest part of his game is consistently hitting jump shots, right? And if the paint is closed off to him and they force him late in the clock, hey, you got to hit a contested 2 or a contested 3, it's a win. Can he make those? Of course he has. We've seen him make them. But it's way better than him barreling down the lane coming at the rim, because you're not stopping that, and he's doing the score and or get fouled and go to the free throw line, right? And so the way in which Miami defends him will be interesting. Obviously, the matchup, right? The chess match between Spo and LeBron, right? Spo knowing LeBron's tricks, LeBron knowing Spo's tricks, right? And the chess match, who's going to do what to sort of like manipulate the other. But again, as all the finals do, assuming the stars are all equal, it's going to come down to the other guys, right? Whose other guys can hit more big shots, more big and timely shots than the other, is generally what happens, right?
You have set this question up that I did not put on the show run perfectly. My question is right now about the other guys. Let's talk about the other guys. Yes, we have the partnership and the duo in AD and LeBron. And what gives them a little bit of a ding is that AD hasn't been, this is his first NBA Finals. Interesting enough. So then we have Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. But again, role players. Let's talk about the other guys. We've always said in the past couple recent podcasts that the Lakers, we always go back and forth about who the third guy is. One night it's Rondo, one night it's Caruso, and the list goes on. So my question to you is, out of the role players, who's the safest bet in consistency to deliver in this finals? Now, before you answer, again, we have the role players in how we've always been preaching with the Miami Heat, with Tyler Herro's, Jay Crowder, and Bam contributing with high points, high numbers in the box score. But when you think about it in a vacuum, I can't list that many guys for the Lakers roster.
Well, so let's give Bam credit. Bam's an all-star. So he's not a role player, right? Jimmy and Bam are like the guys, right?
Right. I'm sorry.
No. That's okay.
Unintentional slander to my guy Bam, which I'll show him some love in a later segment. Bam, keep watching.
Jimmy and Bam are the guys, right? And Bam in particular. The question is, Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, Jay Crowder, Solomon Hill, Andre Iguodala, right? Derek Jones Jr., when he gets some minutes. What are those guys going to be doing when they come off the bench? That remains to be seen, right? Because again, first time stage for all these dudes. They could be good. They could. I don't know. Goran Dragic. I will say Goran, because he's a vet. I feel pretty stable and confident about Goran, right? Like, I think he'll play. I don't think he'll hurt you. He may not have great shooting nights every night, but he's not going to turn the ball over a ton and do silly things to get the Heat in trouble. I mean, looking at the Lakers, God, I mean, Caruso's a good defender, can sometimes hit the outside shot. Rondo, we know he's suspect shooting the ball. He can hit it sometimes, but most of the times not. Dwight Howard, he played well against Jokic in the last series. What can he do against Bam? But I mean, you see how I'm kind of like, And Kyle Kuzma, I mean, he's the enigma, right? He's certainly not consistent. Danny Green has not shot the ball well at all this postseason, but he's got finals experience. Danny Green can all of a sudden get hot. Next thing you know, he's shooting 60% from 3 this series. I'll tell you what, if Danny Green's doing that, Lakers are winning. Because then that zone, they're busting it every time, right? Because the thing about the Miami Heat zone is it's excellent. But LeBron, in so many ways, is the ultimate zone buster, right? In that, if your move or your rotation is just, and you're on defense and you're in the zone, and you are half a beat off, or you're slightly turned in one direction by a hair, LeBron will whip that cross-court pass, and before you even realize it's in the air, shit, let me get back to my spot. Ball's already in the hands and shooting pocket of whomever, wide open 3. Right? So it's, again, we talk about thin margins. The margins are going to be so thin, right? It's really, I mean, it's simple and it's not rocket science. It's going to be about execution, right? which team can literally execute and limit the mistakes down the stretch. The Heat have been excellent on both ends of the floor late in games, defensively and offensively, particularly as we saw as they dismantled the Bucks and the Boston Celtics in the conference finals. Lakers have been great defensively down the stretch. Offense has been a little erratic down the stretch. Save the Anthony Davis game winner in game, whatever that was, 3, I think. Right? Like, I mean, or 4. It's tight, man. It really is. And so, again, who can execute their offense down the stretch and who can execute their defense down the stretch late in these games? Because these possessions, I mean, they're going to matter, right? And I talked about this before. Is AD going to get Bam in early foul trouble? If he does, well, that now opens things up for the Lakers, right? All these little things and how they're going to have to play each possession. And to me, there is no individual better at understanding the importance of each possession like LeBron James, but there is no team that I've seen this postseason better than understanding the importance of each possession like the Miami Heat, right? So, I mean, it's just like, you can see how excited I am for this finals because it's like,
Your excitement is amazing. I love this joy radiating from you through the But first of all, again, so many thoughts, but before I bring up my favorite, which is narratives, I just need to spill out kind of like a word vomit thought that I can't remember what part of the day I was thinking about it, but today I was walking, doing whatever, and I was thinking to myself, in the beginning of all of this season, we call ourselves some sports journalists and some experts. Not one of us thought the Miami Heat would be here. It is just remarkable. And again, I don't mean that in a way where I was like they're terrible.
Right.
It just wasn't even a thought. You know what I mean? So very happy for them. Going off of that, narratives. You know I love a good narrative. There are so many narratives within this finals matchup because obviously LeBron James had very prominent years in Miami with Erik Spoelstra. Won a few chips with some guys called the Big Three. I don't know if you guys know them, Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. And that was super special for him. So going off of that, you mentioned it before. He knows Spoelstra and his coaching ways, and vice versa. Spoelstra knows LeBron and the way he plays. How is this going to affect this series like we haven't seen actually ever because of this detailed narrative?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because it's a chess match, right? LeBron is the ultimate player computer brain on the floor. Again, as I said, he has seen every possible thing. He knows every possible defense. He know there is not a basketball scenario that he's going to see that's going to flummox him, right? He will understand it. The question is, how quickly can he figure it out and make whatever necessary adjustment with his teammates, right? And so you're going to, as with all great players, you don't defend one way. You got to give them a diet of a mixed bunch of things. So they'll do some zone. They'll go straight man to man. They will blitz the pick and roll. They'll do a bunch of different things just to not give the same look, because you can't give great players the same look. They'll eat it alive. What is interesting about Miami and Spo is that zone that was, even though Boston kind of figured it out the last couple of games, it was still effective, right? And the thing about this zone in particular, if AD is flashing in the middle of the zone as opposed to Daniel Tice from the Celtics, that's a problem for Miami, because AD will feast on that mid-range foul line jumper. He might score 60 points. You keep giving him a steady diet of that. Again, which is why they're not going to live in that zone exclusively, all right? They may even switch up the nature because they play a 2-3. Maybe they go 1-3-1, right? To keep the ball to really force you, all right, no, we want you to shoot outside, right? Threes. We'll give up the 3 to you. Not mid-range, not shots in the middle to Anthony Davis. We'll see. I think, and then also let's not shortchange Frank Vogel, who defensively makes also incredible adjustments. I'm so curious as to how he's going to guard the Miami Heat, or how he's going to think about defending his game plan against the Miami Heat split cuts and their action, right? Miami Heat basically run the Golden State Warriors offense, right? With constant ball movement and action, which is why. And the Heat feast off of the fact that they run offense for a full 24 seconds in the shot clock. Because their thought process is, if you wait or you pause, again, for half a beat, they got you. Because now you missed an assignment, you're late, cool, one pass goes here, boom, boom, open shot, score, right? And so it's so much of this is mental, right? Like, can I lock in for 48 minutes and do my job and know exactly where I have to be in every set on both ends of the floor? And how many and which teams make mistakes and which, I mean, it's ultimately it'll really be simple at the end. The team that limits its mistakes likely going to win. Now, you can argue the Lakers have a larger margin of error because of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but again, as great as LeBron is, at some point, it will stop, right? Like, he's not going to continue this for 30 years, right? It's going to stop at some point. Now, it may not be this year. He may just clean it up. I will say this. If the Lakers get up 3 games, LeBron ain't losing a closeout game, right? Like, he going to figure out how to close out. I'll say that for sure. But does it even ever get to that point, right? This is like, it'll be so interesting to see game 1. Right? How both teams come out and approach the situation. Again, I just, whoo, man. Bam and Anthony Davis, what's that matchup going to be like, right? Like, because Bam's one of the few guys who can guard AD one-on-one, but AD's still so long, is he going to get Bam in those ticky-tack fouls, right? You pick up 2 quick early fouls, you got to take Bam out, and now you're in trouble, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, I just get so... The matchup between Davis and Bam is interesting because the casual fan would say, oh, you know, AD's more well-known, he's better, he's right. This, he's that. But not a lot of people know that this is his first finals appearance.
Exactly. We don't know how he's going to play.
He's a younger guy, too. He's doesn't have rarely any miles on him, to be honest, and that's incredible. He is an all-star, not doubting that at all. And the thing is, what's going to be interesting, it's kind of on certain levels an even matchup, but
in some ways,
AD's mid-range shooting is
probably
what's going to dominate in portions of these games.
Anthony Davis is elite. He's elite. He's all NBA, first team offense and deep. I mean, he's incredible, right? I mean, he is what he is. Like, again, the question is, how does the Heat respond? And to your point about narratives, you know how I feel about narratives and like, are the Heat a team of destiny and all that BS? I don't necessarily believe in that, but I will tell you, I do believe in how connected this team is as a full-on unit. Like, watching them play defense, they are on a string and they are connected on that end of the floor, and nothing seems to faze them. Oh, Boston made a run. We're down 14? No problem. Like, it's just, they really seem to understand that you're not going to get it all back if you're down 14 in one possession. It's like, okay, let's get some stops on the defensive end, get into our offense, score, right? And it's just stop, score, stop, score. Next thing you know, they're up 5. It's like, it's incredible to watch them do that. Now, the Lakers are going to present problems for them because they got a ton of size. Dwight, JaVale McGee, right? They're big, right? They're a big team. AD, Kuzma, they're big. So it will limit what Miami Heat's what Miami does. Now, Miami also their whole defense is predicated on not letting you fast break and get in transition. The Lakers thrive in transition. Well, if the Heat stop them from transition, it's a half-court game now. The Lakers' half-court offense, again, is not great. Yes, you have LeBron and Anthony Davis, but who else you worried about in the half court on that team? Right. And when the Heat can lock in on them, that favors the Heat. That kind of grinded out game. So, oh man, it's
It comes back to what we always talk about, the culture in Miami. That is why they're fun to watch. They genuinely thrive in these situations. The fact that they're going into this series as an underdog is exactly where they want to be. They don't want to be anywhere else. They've embraced this identity of sorts, and we just talked about it before. No one thought that they'd be here. So
well, no one but them. As Jimmy Butler said today, he's like, oh, we're not underdogs. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, yeah, no one thought we'd be here, and no one's picking us to win. That's fine, but I know we're good. And I say it all the time. Look, talent ultimately is what matters, right? But if you don't believe, you have zero shot. Like, if you don't believe, why even bother showing up? Just hand the trophy over right now. Don't even waste your time. The Heat have so much belief, like so much. Now that doesn't mean that's enough that they're gonna win just based off belief. They have to execute, but they're never gonna be in any situation in this series and be like, oh well, it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Ho hum, guess we have no shot. Like that. That ain't them. They're never gonna do that. They're gonna believe no matter what until it is literally 0-0 end of game, shot clock or scoreboard. They're gonna think they have a chance, and that's what that competitiveness and that willingness to fight. That's what you love to see. And again, Jenna, I know it's prediction time. I have no idea. I'll let you go first. Well, I mean, we already know what you're picking. I mean, this is easy.
I have to admit, I will not be bitter if the Miami Heat win. However, I am choosing Lakers in 7.
Wow, Lakers in 7. You think it's going the distance?
I think because of Miami, the culture, the belief to win. I'm sorry. I didn't see the Lakers partying after their win, wearing their coach's old school jerseys and listening to Kenny G. I'm sorry. Okay. Which party do I want to be at? So exactly. I'll end it there. But I'm going Lakers in 7. I have a feeling Miami's really going to push the envelope on this.
This is so tough. It's so interesting. LeBron said this after the closeout game against the Nuggets. And, a reporter asked him, someone called you the washed king. I don't remember who did that, whatever. Like, all this stuff. And he was like, the job's not done. The job's not done, right? And that's sort of their mantra and their thing. And as we said on this pod, this is one of LeBron's last good chances to win a title, right? Like, again, he's getting older. Like, so getting back to this level every year is just going to be difficult. And there's no guarantee, right? Like, who knows what happens next year? So there's going to be a level of pressure that he and the Lakers are going to feel. But, you're trying to win a title. That's the Heat in so many ways. Yes, they're in the final, so now it's like, whatever, they want to win too. But as you mentioned, nobody expected them to be there except for them. They expected to be here. Jimmy Butler said at the beginning, no, we come down here to win this thing. We believe that in his interview with ESPN's Rachel Nichols. So, look, that could have all been hyperbole, talking to get his chest puffed out and hype up his teammates. Listen, man, whatever it is that they're selling over there, they all believe it, okay? And again, there's a level of confidence and fearlessness that this team has. They ain't out there like, oh, my God, it's LeBron James. Oh, my God. They're just like, look, man, at the end of the day, and I think this needs to be said, the bubble format and no home court at Staples Center and all the travel back and forth, all the hoopla being gone and literally just you're in a gym and it's two teams just battling each other takes them back to like AAU days and like when they were younger. And the Heat are a bunch of guys who like, they just thrive off this, man. They're like, hey man, we just out here balling and competing. And that's, at the end of the day, that's all this is. And if they can keep that mindset and not realize, oh, it's the NBA Finals, I mean, who knows what could happen. So I say all that to say, I think it's going 7. So here's the hard part. My brain is like, how can you bet against LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Like, that's not, like, that's just silly. Like, oh, Lord. Yes, as you hold up that old GQ magazine with the King cover. How do you bet against? My brain does not. It's like, no, I just don't see it, because at the end of the day, he is that ultimate solver of any problem that shows up on the court.
I know.
But I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth and say, I'm going to sign up for Heat culture and believe in the narrative that the Heat are a team of destiny. Heat in 7. There it is. There it is.
You know what? I just tussle with the idea because I just love the Heat too. I want Miami Kool-Aid. I just can't go against my king.
Can't go against LeBron. I get it.
As I segue into my lifestyle gossip segment, let me just say, let's add prayers for the man who no one is really thinking about right now, and that is Dwayne Wade. The man is stuck on the friendship ladder between his two people, and that's Jimmy Butler and LeBron James.
Well, I mean, D Wade wins either way, right? The Heat win. Dwayne Wade's the Heat. He's a Miami Heatian. He's so he's all good. And the Lakers win. That's his boy LeBron James. Win-win for Dwayne Wade. That's what we call a win-win scenario.
And the thing is, I'm over here saying pray for D Wade.
He's fine.
But let's face it, you just helped me realize, which is why I love you, that either way, Dwayne Wade's going to win because he's going to be sipping a lot of red wine and smoking cigars no matter who it is.
That's right.
He might even be with the both of them.
Win-win. Win-win scenario.
Win-win. Okay. Let's talk about another thing here because there is some tea in the bubble. Okay, it's brewing. It's brewing. Okay. After the Miami Heat won the Eastern Conference Finals and the Drake pop star video with Tyler Herro's face on Justin Bieber started to make its way around the internet, Tyler Herro posted his celebratory photos, as he should, on Instagram, looking like a cool Miami swagged out guy that he is. And he's hugging his girl. Mm-hmm. Now, Jarod, before I disrespect this girl unintentionally, how do you pronounce her name?
I don't even know. Was it something Stewart? I don't even know. Stewart's the last name.
Katia Elise.
No. Is it Elise? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Henry.
Oh, yeah. Katia Elise Henry. Yeah. Katia Elise Henry.
What he said.
But here's why is she important, Jenna? I mean, besides being Tyler Herro's girl.
Because this is actually an incredible narrative. And it's true, I guess. So she's apparently Kyle Kuzma's old girl before he got with Winnie Harlow, and now he's happy. Love you guys. But this was his girl, apparently, allegedly, reportedly, whatever, before Herro got with her. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's so funny because this girl is down in the bubble with Tyler Herro.
Yep, being like, and she's going to be hating on Kuzma. It's going to be great.
Well, incredible, right? And the thing is, let's also not forget about the bubble and the guest rules, okay? You can't have that many people. Like my mom would be personally offended if I took anybody else. So, like, this guy has her in the bubble.
All good.
Like, the choices are just amazing. It really does. It's telling. It's like checking somebody's Venmo account. It's like telling to who they're, like, spending time with.
Well, here's the interesting thing, right? Like, what's that when Herro and Kuzma go at each other when they're matched up against each other? I mean, they're gonna be a little smack talk. Like, is Kuzma gonna go extra hard because that's his ex girl? Like, or is Herro gonna be like, is Herro gonna be his usual cool, unflappable? That don't faze me, bro. She with me now, and rain buckets on him. Like, I mean, right? This is the stuff we live for. Not to mention, these teams have been like literally in close proximity with each other for like 80 something days down in that bubble. I mean.
When Tyler called himself, a walking bucket, mm-hmm. right? A bucket, whatever. So if he rains buckets in Kyle Kuzma's face, I am going to fall on the ground and start rolling around on the freaking floor. They've got to be up against each other, and like, God forbid, I hope some Mike catches it and they're just going back and forth.
Yeah.
Like these women aren't, maybe they are, but like the end all be all of your life. Like, I would die.
Or I hope that the ABC camera pans over to Katia Elise Henry and she, is making some faces whenever Kuzma does something. It'll be, I mean, this is the petty stuff that we live for. It's hilarious.
Well, we love to joke about it, but like when that meme starts going around the internet, I'm gonna be crying and laughing on the couch with a glass of red, really chuckling. Like, I mean, obnoxiously, embarrassingly chuckling, like the only laugh I do when I'm alone. So, there's that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I promised Bam I would show him some love.
Mm-hmm.
So, because, I know him and the -3 people that follow me will see this. So, he, in the post game of the closeout game with the Heat and the Celtics the other night, oh my God.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
His DMs. I'm speaking for the other people, not myself. His DMs must be lit the hell up because Bam was on the camera with his little mask on, and he was like, I got my mom down in the bubble. And, all jokes aside, it was really sweet how he mentioned how, people from where he's from don't make it out. And he really has, made a path for himself that's rare from his upbringing. But anyway, he was saying that he brought his mom to the bubble, and I just think that's great. Like, what are they doing? Are they playing mini golf? Is she telling him, like, you got it, Bammy? I wonder if she calls him Bammy.
Oh, Lord. Bam Bam, like in the Flintstones. Look, yeah. It's a wonderful story, and, you love that sappy stuff. Look, Bam says that he does everything for his mom, right? Like, that's because before he made it, quote unquote, it was just her, right? It was just the two of them. And so you love to see, players giving their mom this kind of love and stressing how important, they were in their lives. And obviously she's crucial for Bam getting where he is. And, I it's a wonderful story. I think Bam's ascension is wonderful. And look, she gets a lot of credit for that, right? And I just think that he's one of those wonderful stories in sports that we love to talk about. And it's great to see when guys, for Bam, it's about the work and the grind, right? Like, he's not doing it for like accolades and to be famous and like all that. Like, it is about the work and the grind. And you can see that in the way in which he talks, right? I mean, he said it after game 5. He's like, I let my team down. He's like, I got to be better. Came out in game 6 and dominated. Like, you're like, God damn, Bam. That's like, I mean, to be that young in the league and have that level of willingness to take the onus on yourself and then show out in the closeout game. I mean, it was incredible. So kudos to Bam.
Right. And he's learning a lot of that in part. It sounds a lot like Jimmy Butler when you talk like that.
No
so
doubt.
He's learning a lot from that guy. You can definitely tell. I hope they do speak on it and elaborate on it post-bubble. So speaking of putting in the hard work, another man who does a lot of that is no longer with the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the legendary, incredible, iconic, the list goes on of adjectives, Doc Rivers. He has parted ways with the Clippers. He thanked Clipper Nation, for being the coach. And he said, which I thought was interesting, he ended his statement on this note. He said, thank you to all the players, coaches, and staff. And he mentioned that a lot of his goals were making it a winning team, making it a free agency destination, making it a great organization overall. It's just a surprising departure to me. So we always, when the first news came out how the Clippers obviously didn't advance, everybody was like, no, Doc's not leaving. Doc's not going to be on the chopping block. What happened?
I mean, part of it is the fact that they blew a 3-1 lead, right? Now, I'm not going to say that this is Doc's fault. He isn't the reason they blew a 3-1 lead. He is a reason, though, right? In the sense that you had a team that had clear chemistry issues, and as the head coach, he was not able to rectify those chemistry issues. I do think that the time away, when the season paused, really hurt the Clippers because they were starting to get into a groove. Paul George was a big reason why this team had some issues. We talked about his poor play in Game 7. We also talked about that moment he had with Montrezl Harrell, where Montrezl said to him, "Oh, that's right, I forgot. I can't tell you anything." Right? Like, that's a problem when anyone who's ever been in an argument, if you say that to someone, like, that's some deep-seated stuff. And the Clippers team have a problem with the way in which Paul George is treated, like he's a super duper star. And I said this on another show I did. If you're playing NBA 2K, we talk about Paul George, and he gets paid like he's a 95 or better player in terms of ratings. He's like an 85 or an 84, right? And it's just, for whatever reason, I don't know what's going on with him, but ever since he left Indiana, like, his playoff performance has been terrible. Like, he just hasn't been good in the postseason, and I don't know what that's about. And look, guys like Lou Will and Montrez and Pat Bev probably don't take too kindly to that, right? Like, the idea of, why are there different rules for this guy? They could see different rules for Kawhi. They get that, right? Kawhi's proven. We cool. Paul George? They're like, what's he done that he gets any special treatment? And so that falls ultimately on Doc as a head coach. Now, I will say this. Doc Rivers is one of the best coaches in the NBA. The Clippers, as an organization, a dumpster fire before Doc Rivers got there. A dumpster fire. He helped lead them through that horrendous Donald Sterling situation, got him up out of there. But the reality is, when Steve Ballmer took over the team, Ballmer didn't hire Doc Rivers. That wasn't his guy, right? Now, he did some good things, and Doc did achieve some of his goals. The Clippers are a legitimate organization now. Free agents want to go there, and there is a culture of winning there. There's been a playoff team the last several years. But ultimately, they didn't get it done. And when you have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and you're on a ultimate win now short timetable, that 3-1 collapse was just, it wasn't good. And someone had to take someone had to take the blame for that. And it's much easier, as we know in this business, to get rid of coaches than it is to get rid of players, right? So it's sad in that way for Doc. But guess what? 2 years left on that deal, so Doc's still getting paid. Doc will be fine. He gets to work on his golf game some more, and then he gets to pick what he wants to do next. Does he go to the broadcast booth and do that? Listen, broadcasting, Jeff Van Gundy's been loving broadcasting, right? You make a lot of money, and it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, because you ain't making no decisions. Or he can wait it out, pick up another coaching job if he wants to. Doc is good enough to do whatever he wants to do in this league. But I do think that, he may have to rethink the way, if he's going to go to another team where they have championship expectations and their window is short, how he wants to coach those teams with superstars, right? And it's not that Doc can't coach superstars. He clearly can. But how do you want to set up that environment so that the rest of your guys are cool and the chemistry is there, right? And that was missing for the Clippers this year.
Right, 100%. I mean, I can go on about this topic forever. You made 100,000 million. I was never good at math. Don't know how to say that number, but great points. But it is interesting. 2 years left on the deal. Interesting coaching decision left for the Clippers, and an interesting decision left for Doc, because again, he's still getting paid, but being Doc is hard because of your incredible, illustrious resume and reputation. So again, it really depends where you go. I don't think he'd ever have a hard time finding a job. It's a matter of being Doc and meeting people's expectations. But moving back really quick to the interesting decision that the Clippers have, like you mentioned before, they're an ultimate win now team. So, I mean, we have Woj reporting that, top candidates include Clippers assistant Ty Lue, former Rockets and Knicks coach Jeff Van Gundy. I mean, the search is on, and Ty Lue, we're hearing his name pop up a lot in the coaching topic.
And I think ultimately that's why Ballmer let Doc go, right? It's like Lue was being mentioned as a head candidate at so many other places, and they didn't want to lose that, and they said, you know what? Let's just move on from Doc, and I think Lue's the front runner. If he wants this job, it's his. Look, whomever takes over this job, and the Clippers have to be very clear about this, whoever takes over this job, it literally is about winning the championship next year, because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are free agents. And not only that, you mortgage your entire future to get Paul George. The Clippers have no draft assets, literally none. So when it falls apart, because all title teams do, or all veteran teams do, how are you going to rebuild through the draft? Because you got nothing. You got no draft picks. So It's literally, we are putting all our chips in the middle of the table, and they got to go for it now. So I think it'll be Lou. I don't think Jeff Van Gundy comes out of retirement for this job. And I don't really see them bringing in anybody else, really, who I think would be better. Like, I think it's a Ty Lue thing.
Interesting. Not mad at the choice. We'll have to see what happens. A lot of coaching moves happening as of late, so we'll keep you guys updated on all of that, and we will catch you guys after Game 1 of the NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Miami Heat starting on September 30th. Stick with us, guys. Jarod, tell them where they can find us.
As always, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We are at 7footers Pod on Twitter, at 7footers Podcast on Instagram, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemon Silly, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me come